Welcome to the Essence of the Soul,
a safe haven for all souls.
My name is Linda.
And my name is Paris, and today we're going to be talking about auras. So with auras, we have different layers and different colors that are associated with our auras. If you watched our last episode on chakras, we talked a lot about the different meanings behind them. They are very similar. However, with auras, you can have all different types of colors from the ranges of very vibrant colors. You can have a very vibrant pink or purple, but at the same time, it could be associated with other types of colors as well as dirtier colors too, where you might have to work on that aura a little more as well.
Mm-hmm. So we are all made up of energies, so each aura is different depending on which energy you're vibrating at. The aura has 7 different layers, or planes as they call it. Each layer gives insight into your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So some of the layers we have is the first layer, which is the etheric body. The second layer is the emotional body. The third layer is the mental. Fourth is the astral. Fifth is the etheric body, the celestial body, and then we have the etheric body. So I'll just go a little bit into my personal experience with Bobby Sullivan, which is the aura and psychic person that we went to take our aura photos. So for Bobby, he's very talented, he's very psychic, and he not only takes your aura photo, but he also gives you insights on where you're at in your spiritual journey, and if there's any messages or insights that he has that he can give to you. So for my aura photo, when I first got it, I was in my personal year 11, which is a very spiritual and emotional year for me because I was just starting into my spiritual journey, which is my first year. I was doing a lot of healing, a lot of shadow work, and just, trying to tap into my spirituality deeper as well. So my aura photo, I'll put a little photo in the video here. It was mainly indigo, so a lot of indigo, a lot of white, where my body was. I was reading a lot of white aura, and I had a lot of blues, so that deep dark indigo as well as some light blue up above where the higher layers are for the aura. And specifically, I had a very bright white light next to me, which was really interesting because I've never seen this before. It was very white, but it was also surrounded by a very vibrant violet light. I didn't know what it was at first, but Bobby actually had insight into it. And usually when you have a color like that next to you, it means there's a spirit next to you. So this spirit was actually a grandmother of mine. And during that time, Bobby had asked, did your grandmother pass away, or is who is this grandmother that is showing up in your photo? And I was really confused myself because both my grandmothers are still here. So it took me a while to realize that it was my great grandmother that had actually passed away recently, and it was almost like a form of protection and love that they're bringing you, and they're with you, protecting you. Another color that showed up in my aura too is the purple. So I had a lot of purple up where my spirit guides were. So if you have aura photos, sometimes you'll have your spirit guides show up in your photo, which is it showed up as white dots above me. So those white dots were kind of where my spirit guides were, and there it was the purple. And that purple really signifies your crown chakra, which is associated with the spiritual realm. So I had a lot of spiritual protection with my spirit guides there. One thing that really stood out to me with my aura photo was how vibrant it was and how far it expanded. So a lot of aura photos that people take, I've seen in the past, it usually extends to a certain point and then above it is just black. And that just goes to show how far your aura radiates at. But what was really interesting is that my indigo expanded throughout the whole entire photo. And it was really interesting because the first thing Bobby said to me when he saw my aura photo was, "Wow, you have a very beautiful aura. You're psychic." And I was like, oh my gosh. At that time, I didn't know I was, gifted. But he had said that the first thing that, he saw my picture. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that is so crazy because I've always known I was very intuitive, but I never knew I was actually psychic, and that goes deeper into my spiritual journey now, more the more I learn about myself, like, yes, I am psychic and I am spiritually gifted to become, a monk shaman in the future. So that was really interesting because it all led in to like where I am now. And that was during the time where it was around my birthday too. So during your birthday, there is, a lot of events that can occur because that's kind of like the time where the sun comes back around to your sign. And a lot of things can happen, events and interesting insights and information that can come through. And I think like during that same week, that's when Paris had told me she has, an in-law that is a shaman. And she had told me, she's like, oh my gosh, Linda, like we tapped into your energy and, you know, my in-laws saw that you have shaman spirit guides. And I was like, no way. Like, that's crazy. Like, I would have never thought, but we always knew that there was like a slight chance, we would talk about it in the past. And my family comes from a very spiritually gifted lineage as well. So it was either going to be me or my siblings,
Yeah.
And so everything just kind of connected so well during that time when I got my aura photo with Bobby. And so he confirmed a lot of things for me. And one thing that stood out to me is that he mentioned, like your shaman journey, it's not just going to be monk shaman. You can do like everything. Like you can practice shamanism in different cultures too for your, your journey, your shamanic journey. You can do like, whatever it is that you decide to do. You're not limited to just one culture, which is a really interesting insight that, I received from Bobby because, I don't know how exactly that works, being a shaman in different cultures, but, shamanism itself is like a healing modality. So you can essentially practice any healing modality within shamanism as long as you are gifted with those shaman spirit guides. So I thought that was really interesting. One thing about Bobby too is that he is a psychic and he can see things further than just reading the colors of your aura. And that's what differentiates him from other aura readers is he's not just giving you the basic general colors of your aura and like the meanings behind it, but also like further insights that comes with it. Like, for example, like seeing my grandmother, he also saw like a lot of different insights of, the things I was going through, as well as like my family members, specifically another family member of mine, my sibling. He also saw that, he is very spiritually gifted as well. He is an empath. And I thought that was really beautiful and it gave a lot of insight. I haven't gotten another aura reading since, but I plan to with my birthday coming up in November, just as like a progress checkpoint for me. I think that's a nice way to utilize aura photos is to see how much progress you've made within the past year or, as you continue on your journey to see where you're at spiritually as well. I went with my boyfriend for my birthday that year. So we also got one together and it was really interesting because the more I learned about our spiritual connection with one another, everything just started to piece together and make more sense too. So when we took our photo together, we had a lot of the violet, a lot of like pinks, a lot of the green, if I can remember correctly, and some orange too, coming from him. So my boyfriend, he's a very creative person. He's more on the artistic side. So he had a lot of orange on his side. And for me, I had a lot of pink, a lot of violet. And then above us, we had a lot of like purples. So Bobby says that when you have a lot of that purple within like your photo with another person, it shows a spiritual connection between you two. So that's usually a really good sign that you guys are soulmates or, some sort of deeper spiritual connection. And of course, we know now that we're twin flames. So that really connected for us. One thing that was really interesting that, he was able to see too, like Paris was saying, sometimes some colors may show up a little bit more different, on the color spectrum. So we had like a lime green. It was like a lime greenish, a little bit like darker, right above us, very small part. And he had asked like, oh, like, how do you feel about, your boyfriend's family? And I was like, it's so interesting that you had asked that because that's an area where we're still continuing to work on and heal within our relationship is family dynamics, because we both come from such a different family background. That's somewhere we are continuing to work on to like compromise as well. So really interesting how he can see that and just kind of give you more information. But one thing too is that we had like green coming from our hands. So when you're taking the picture, you're kind of like holding hands like that with your partner or whatever. And we had green coming from our hands. So green symbolizes, of course, the heart chakra as well as healing energy. And one thing I always told my boyfriend, Bishop, is that he has healing hands. He has a very soft healing touch. And for me, I go through a lot of like healer pain is what they call it. A lot of like upper back and neck pain, and that usually like symbolizes carrying too much weight of the world and burdens, as well as taking in too much energies from others. So we're both empaths, and it showed through that. And for his hands, I always tell him to massage me. For some reason, like his touch is so healing to me. Like it just instantly, relieves all like the pain and aches that I go through. So that was something that was really beautiful that was able to be captured through our pictures. And, coming from our hands, you can tell that, we both have that healer's energy coming from our hands. So yeah, I think that was really interesting about our aura photos. I would definitely recommend it, and I would go back for a progress track to see, how it is, and, see where it goes from there. Do you want to talk about your aura photo?
I actually have multiple experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So my aura is very interesting because I always have indigo as my first layer. It's like the deepest blue, right? And when I got my first picture, this was back in 2022, I think. Wait, no, 2023. Okay, it was 2023. So I actually just graduated school. I came back to live with my parents, and I was kind of just starting a new healing journey. It was like another spiritual awakening, another transformative time in my life because I had just graduated, right? So I'm literally moving into a whole new place, and just kind of my life was a little different than it was for the last 3 years. So when I got it, it was interesting because actually I got 2 photos. Mm-hmm. The first photo, it was super red, like super red. And he had told me, he was like, oh my God, like you're like straight up empath. Like I'll tell you, like you feel so much. You're very sensitive. You're very strong, like feelings type of things, right? And then I did like... what did I do? Okay, so what happened was that we discussed like this photo, and then he went through and he started talking to me a lot about family and things like that. And I remember that once I spoke to him, I started crying because he just hit me so hard. Like it was very true. Like what I was going through at the time, I felt like, it was a lot harder to go through that transition. And there was a lot of things kind of going on during that time. I was a completely different person, honestly. And I remember I was like, oh, like, can I just take one more photo? Because, only because I didn't like how I looked in the first photo, okay? And so he was like, yeah, you could take another one. So I took one, a second one after that. And that one was indigo with blue and then green on my right arm right here. So he was like, oh, it completely changed. Like literally it's really interesting because my aura specifically, like for me, it changes so fast. But like, I know some people where like they have taken multiple photos and like it's pretty much the same thing, For me, I don't know why, but my energy changes really, really quick. So he saw the photo and he goes, oh, it's completely different. And I was like, yeah, wow, like, why is that? And he goes, oh, because you cried. Mm-hmm. And one thing about me is like crying is like really healing for me. It's like it helps me release everything. And another thing about my red photo was like he tells me this every single time I go. He's like, every time I see you, you got so much protection on you. Like so much protection. That's why it shows up in your aura. Is like you have he's like, it's not necessarily that you have your guard up, but I see that like your spirit guides, they always want to protect you. So wherever you're going that's new, they are always there. They're protecting you. So they don't know like what you're getting yourself into, pretty much. You know what I mean? So in that moment, he was like, yeah, there's a lot of protection there. There's a lot of things going on. So, it's connected to you, to your family, like certain things like that. And then when I got my new indigo colored one, that's when he was just like, yeah, you just released everything. And I think with the blue it's not just associated with, your, I guess like being an indigo child as well, but it's also being able to express yourself, right? So that indigo and the blue together was kind of telling, because he was like, yeah, like your indigo, like it shows me like you have been here for many lifetimes, you've been here many times, and you're very smart, knowledgeable, you have a lot of intuition, a lot of things that come to you. But at the same time with the blue, like you are able to cry, self-express, release, all those things. And then he told me with that green, it was so little, guys. Like it was literally like a tiny little green that wanted to like kind of come out. And this was like literally way earlier in my journey, where I was like starting up brand new. It was like a new beginning for me. And he was like, one thing about that green in your arm is like, I see it's wanting to expand, but he's like, it's not quite there yet. What you need to do, like pretty much in the next year that I see you, right? He's like, what you need to do is I want to see that green expand up, because with that green, it means that you are helping others, you're healing yourself, and you are like going through certain transitions of like helping or service, right? So he was like, yeah, it's like it's there, it wants to expand. So he was like, you really need to work, like really work hard, and like your career field where you can help people, work hard, and like even if it's as simple as like giving things away to people that you love, or like just helping, like being somebody who can help a lot. So he was like, yeah, expand that green, let it come out. And he said, I want you to work on that next time. And I was like, wow, okay, that's really cool. So that was like the ultimate goal for me. Like I was like, oh my God, I want that green, like the green is associated with the heart chakra, but it's very associated with healing energy. Like not just healing that you can give, but healing that you have done within for yourself, So interesting enough, the next time I went to go see him, I did I do? Okay, so I did 2 photos again. It was so interesting. I did 2 photos again, and I was like, okay, this first photo was more of like orange, red, gold, like I don't know. It was, okay, not red, but it was very orangey. A lot of the oranges, yellow, stuff like that. Same thing. So if you have that gold, because I always have gold. I had 2 golds on my side. He goes,
Gold is protection.
yeah, he's like, you got that protection up again. He's like, it's just so much protection around you. Like, and I was like, I swear I'm pretty open. I swear I'm open. Like, I'm not, I'm not afraid to be here or anything. But he's like, yeah, no, it's nothing with fear. But he's just that, it's like, that's what you just bring when you come, is just like loads of protection with you. And I was like, yeah. So he read that one, and it was interesting because I went with a group of people too. So one of his other clients actually had a meditation or Reiki meditation done. So I was sitting there while she was getting that done, and I was like, oh, like honestly, I feel like I can utilize this time to also implement my meditation and just like, relax while he does that. And, the room was quiet, and I was sitting down, and I was just like, okay, like doing, my meditation. He was doing singing bowls, everything. And then I was like, okay, I got up and I asked him, like, I was like, oh, can I take one more photo again? And he's like, sure. And so after that meditation, I ended up sitting with him, or sitting on the chair to do my picture again. And then again, guys, it wasn't really anything. It was just because then again, I didn't like how I looked in the first photo. So I was like, I'm going to do a different pose, because I think my pose kind of matters, like, I don't know. I'm just very picky like that. But I took my photo, and turns out my photo was literally the same as it was 1 year ago, the same indigo, right? And it was like the indigo, the blue, except this time the green came out. It expanded over my head. and it was amazing. He didn't really get to tell me too much about, these second photos that I was taking, because they were just pictures, but from there he was just like, oh, look, like, I was like, oh my God, do you remember my last photo? And I showed him and I compared it. He goes, yeah, that shows me like you've been doing a lot of healing energy. You've been doing a lot of service. You've been doing certain things for people, and he was like, yeah, that's really good, because he was like, yeah, after that meditation, because he goes, I've never seen people's auras change so fast like that. Like, it's really weird, like within minutes, So he was like, okay, like, but it's not really that it doesn't change, but it's a drastic change. It's like from orange to blue. You know what I mean? Like,
You know what that is? So that's being able to raise your vibration and frequency easily,
Yeah.
very fast, because your energy is, your aura. And when you are able to change your energetic vibrations fast like that, you're able to lift your aura fast.
yeah. And that's kind of how I felt, because even if I was just sitting there, right, meditating for a little bit, like it really did affect the way that I was feeling. And like we said, your energy is always changing, like all the time. So with that, I was like, wow, okay, that green really came through. And when I was comparing it, I'll show you guys a photo as well. It was very, like, it was a proud moment for me. Like, I was like, oh my God, remember you told me, like, work on that green. And I was like, and it's it's literally the same photo, except the green just came out, And then that was what, like, a few months ago, my birthday in March. So last March, that was 2024. And then I just recently got one, like, literally the last day of August, like slightly September-ish, with my sister. And with this photo, it was very interesting because I have gone through so much within this year. So this year, like Linda said, that was her year, spiritual 11. This is my spiritual year 11. And it's really interesting because I've been having so many spiritual moments, downloads, certain things that have come to me. And with my third picture now, or I guess, I don't even know, 2, 4, 6, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a new picture of myself individually and with my sister as well. But I got this photo of myself where the green was like unreal. I was like, wow, so crazy, because then we have the gold again, right? So he goes, oh my God, the gold's still there. It's still there. There's your protection. But I was like, wow, that's very interesting, because a few weeks before that, I was doing some manifestations during the 8/8 portal. And the number one thing that I had manifested was protection. Like, I want protection so that nobody can read into me, look into me, or hurt me, try to say bad things about me, just certain protection things like that without my permission, And so I had really, really manifested that. And it was a time where I was activating a lot of things. And I was, I think I had literally just recovered from sickness too. There was a lot of things that was happening to me, like mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then when I had taken that picture, I had this green. So I actually shifted the hands over to the side, and I kind of turned my body over to the side. And from there, you can see, because my hand's on the side, it started shooting out green. So instead of it just being, a tiny little strip or something like that, it was coming straight out of my hands. And with that, it was very interesting, because I was like, oh my God, I've been praying for this green, because I am in an aura photo, I'm like, well, for, kind of just to be beginner mode a little bit, I was like, I really, really want green, because it's all about healing energy, right? And it's not just that you can heal others, but that you're healing yourself too, right? So a lot of times if he sees green coming out of your hand, it does mean that you can heal people, And so from there, he was telling me, he goes, one thing about your journey is that you can do pretty much anything I can do. It's just that you need to have confidence in doing it. He's like, you can do any of these, but because he knows, because he does passive regressions too. So he's like, because you've done it, you've done all of this before. So he's like, anything you want to do, you can choose, you can do it. So he was like, all these spiritual practices, all these things that you're doing, you know, like I see already, it's in the green. I had like slightly blue in there too. There was just like, I don't know, a mix of colors in there. And then he was like, yeah, like, you can do like certain healing things, like, based on what you choose to do. And he was like, there's so many different types of services that you can provide, pretty much, you know, because he sees that in the green that was coming out. And I had a lot of blue on my face too. I think I had that in my last photo. So I had the indigo photo, I had the blue on my face, and this photo I had blue on my face too, which is really good because that's your throat chakra, right? So your throat is opened, it's finally opened, and it wants to speak. And one of the downloads he got from there in the past was like, yeah, like, you know, they said you should dive into tarot cards. Like, you are like a divination reader, you can read tarot. So he's like, look into that. And now, like, you know, a few months later, I'm like, well, here I am. And I love telling stories and I love doing those things, you know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, you know, but what really, you know, needs to happen is just having that confidence in doing certain things like that. So these colors, you know, they are pretty broad, where like you could just say like, oh, that means you have a lot of love, or that means you have a lot of healing, or blah blah blah, right? But at the same time, I love Bobby because I feel like he is somebody who can really dive deeper into like certain issues in your life or certain things that might come up. And even, you know, I do want to mention you can get it with a partner as well. And I did get it with my sister, and she got her own as well too. But it was very beautiful to see our mix of energies and to see also how similar and how different we were, you know, and for him to actually read within our connection as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode on auras. Hope you guys learned some information on our personal experiences. And if you've ever gotten an aura photo, let us know what your aura is. It would be amazing to understand the different auras that people have. And if you ever are in Minnesota, don't forget to check out Bobby Sullivan. We'll link his information in the description below. He's a very talented aura and psychic reader. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, and tune in for the next episode.